Hello YouTube and vinyl community, I'm Jeff Harris and welcome to the Vinyl Record Info channel. And today's video is about records with stories. So I'm just going to show you some records here that just have personal stories to me, either how I got them or there's a story behind them, and also just an excuse to show you some cool stuff too. Alright, so let's dive right into it. So number one is this record right here. This is the Detrola record. So basically the first record player I ever got when I was a kid was an all-in-one, Detrola. It had a record player on the top, then it had a radio on it, it had a cassette player in it. Not a great record player. It's one of those ones with the dish is too small for the record, so it hangs off and whatever. But when I was a kid, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was amazing. I used it all the time. And this record came with the record player. So I would listen to this thing all the time. This thing is actually kind of killer. It's Rock Around the Clock, Chantilly Lace, Do You Love Me, Wipeout, California Dreamin'. When I was a kid, I thought this record was the coolest. I got my record player from Kmart, so it came with this. And technically this is a promo copy. I mean, this is demonstration, not for sale. No, these are like $1 probably. You probably couldn't give this away, but I thought it was kind of cool. And when I was a kid, I thought it was awesome. I listened to it all the time. Now, I started my YouTube channel because there were other guys within the vinyl community that I watch all the time, and I think their YouTube channels are awesome, which got me into maybe starting my own channel. So, and I'm going to talk about, a couple of those guys here. One is this record, which I've already shown in a previous episode, but previous video. But this is 13th Floor Elevators, Psychedelic Sounds of 13th Floor Elevators. And I got this from Mike at the Ingroove. When I got out of the Navy, I moved from San Diego to Charleston, and I drove cross country. My family flew and I drove because we had the pets. I got a dog and a cat, and we had just a bunch of essentials that we wanted to have right when we got there. So I drove, and I took the opportunity to hit a couple big record stores cross country along the way. And obviously, when I drive through Arizona, I'm going to try to hit the Ingroove. So, got to the Ingroove. I was like, oh man, this is cool because, I've seen it plenty of times on videos on his YouTube channel and on whatnot. So when I got in there, I thought it was pretty cool. I looked around and I saw this thing on the wall. And, again, it's a VG copy. It's, it's good, but it's a VG copy. Unbelievable price. And there was Mike sitting behind the counter, and so I struck up a conversation with him, and he was nice enough to take some time out of his day and just talk to me about records for 20, 30 minutes. We just sat there at the counter and talked about records. He showed me some really cool stuff behind the counter that are like, he showed me a couple copies of this record that he has that are near mint, unbelievable shape. Out of my price range, but it was cool that he even showed me that kind of stuff. He's exactly what you think he is. He is the nicest guy and loves just taking time out of his day to talk records with you. So I highly recommend go to Phoenix, go to the Ingroove, and if Mike's there, strike up a conversation. He's the nicest guy. So obviously my favorite vinyl YouTube channel is Dylan from Noble Records. I got his new release right there, a test press of Yes to Urfa. Hasn't come out yet, and he just recently dropped Underground Fire, which I picked up a pinwheel copy of. I just hasn't gotten here yet. But I also went to his shop. So I live in Charleston now, so it's not too far of a drive for me up to North Carolina. And I think I already showed you this one, but this is Bubble Puppy. I got this off his Holy Moly wall. It's in the shrink, near mint, beautiful copy. I also picked up a copy of The Soft Machine. This is an original press with the cover art that was, has, on the back here it's got, the uncensored cover and really good psych. I like this record a lot. I also have their volume 2. I have a promo copy of their volume 2 in there. But I did not have a copy of this. So I saw this sitting there. This was in his, new release bin. So I got an original copy of this, also at a great price. I also got a copy of Aqualung because I did not have that, surprisingly. But unfortunately, he was not there. We weren't able to work it out to where I was going to make it by the time he had to leave. So unfortunate, but I definitely hope to get up there to actually meet him at some point. We talk over email sometimes. But on one of his early Whatnot sales or shows, I guess, he did a personal collection purge. He does them every so often, but I picked up this copy. So this was his copy of King Harvest Dancing in the Moonlight. This is kind of a sneaky, tough record to find. I was pretty pumped when he put it up on Whatnot and he purged it from his collection. I haven't found one of these out in the wild, and maybe one other time. Actually, maybe I saw one, but I already had this one, I think. But yeah, this is kind of a sneaky, difficult one to find, but it was cool because anybody who bought something out of his personal collection in that first show, he sent it with this QR code, and it was basically just another YouTube video for people who bought a record, just thanking them, and it was pretty cool. And then obviously this is in great shape. Pretty cool. Then on Whatnot, I really like Bearded Vinyl. Shout out Bearded Vinyl, and I was able to pick up this original copy of Master of Puppets Metallica. And he gave me a really good deal on it, and he also told me that Bearded Vinyl just opened his own brick and mortar record shop as well in Florida, and I think he's outside Gainesville. And he said that this was the first record he played at his new shop to test the system. So I thought it was kind of cool. I like Bearded Vinyl a lot, so it's cool to have a little piece of his brand new record store. When I lived in San Diego, I had at my fingertips so many record stores. I mean, it's just a huge music town in general. There was a lot of record stores. I think I've already said before, my favorite record store was Folk Arts Rare Records. But, you have your, favorite record store, that may have the best selection or the rare stuff or a good price, whatever. Then you also might have your sketchy record store that deals in a lot of cash, will give you really good deals, things like that. So, I've got my record store in San Diego like that, but up on their wall, I got this original UK press of Beatles Abbey Road on Apple. This was like 20-something bucks. Awesome deal, made a good deal with the owner on it. But sitting there in the bin, not even up on the wall, in a bin, as I was flipping through, and I should say this place is called Soul Funk Records in San Diego. But they're not sketchy. They're a great record store. It's just the guy is nice, and if you pay cash, and you can wheel and deal a little bit. This is in the bin. In the Led Zeppelin section, this is an RL Led Zeppelin VG copy, but it's decent shape. And it wasn't like it was a mistake. The price sticker on it had like Led Zeppelin 2 RL, so it's not like they didn't know. It was $80, just sitting in the L's. So wheel and deal a little bit, and I got a really great deal on this one. Super pumped to have it too. It's just crazy. It's just don't sleep on the bins. Don't just look at the wall, because sometimes there's some great stuff in there. Okay, so I went to Northern Illinois University for college. That's where I went to school. And in the student center, it's in DeKalb, Illinois, and the tallest building in DeKalb, Illinois. It's like a small farming community, but so it's not that crazy. But it was our student center. Our student center is called Holmes Student Center, and at the top of the Holmes Student Center, the top floor of it is called the Duke Ellington Ballroom. And the reason why it's called the Duke Ellington Ballroom is because it was where Duke Ellington played his last show before he died. And I think he was like 72, and I think it just so happened to be in 1972, I believe. But we called it the Duke Ellington Ballroom because it was the last place he played. And this was one of my, I think maybe my second promo record I ever got. This is a white label promo on the 6i mono. But Duke Ellington live at Newport, I love this. It's so good. I mean, he has that connection to my college, which is really, really cool. Jeeps Blues on here is just, the story behind this record. When they did this at Newport, he was kind of on the downswing in popularity, but then this show came out over at Newport, and people went nuts. I mean, people were there. Go to the Wikipedia page and take a peek at this show live at Newport. It was wild, but it's funny too. I think Christian Bale in a movie called American Hustle, he talks about this record. He talks about Jeeps Blues and like how that song starts. It's like he's like, who opens a song like that? It is crazy. Jeeps Blues is such a good song, but I think it's really cool. It was one of my first promo records I ever got back in the day, and cool connection to my school. So I picked a Random Doors album, but so basically Jim Morrison there. When I lived in San Diego, I worked on Coronado Island when I was in the Navy for a couple years, and there's really only one record store on Coronado Island, and it wasn't really a record store. It was called the Attic, and it was an antique store. It was basically an antique store with a decent record selection. They had a wall basically that was dedicated to records. So it was on Coronado Island. If you don't know anything about Coronado, it's very hoity-toity, very, very expensive area. The median houses there, I don't know, $2-3 million, right? It's crazy. It's a vacation destination. So everything, as you can imagine, at that store was a little overpriced. But the owner of the Attic, that antique store, was this really cool guy. We struck up a conversation, and he was British. He still has a strong British accent and English accent, and we were talking for a while. And his sister was married to Jim Morrison, so he knew him personally, and he told a bunch of crazy stories, about him in his heyday. And he told this crazy story about one time he punched him in the face. This is back in the drug days and everything. So, but a lot of shenanigans were going on. But it was really cool, and he was a really cool guy. And we got to talk records for a little while, and he had a lot of interesting stories about the Doors and Jim Morrison in particular, since it was his brother-in-law. So it's kind of interesting. I've said it 4,000 times, but my favorite band is Rush. So this one in particular, this is Rush Clockwork Angels, but my dad and I went to go see Rush live in Tinley Park, Illinois. It's called a Tweeter Center. They've changed the name, I think, a couple times. I think maybe it's called the First Midwest Bank Amphitheater now. But anyways, we went to this concert. Here's my ticket right here. So we went to the Clockwork Angels tour there and saw him, and it was unbelievable. Neil Peart, he had the rotating 360 drums, Geddy Lee killing it, Alex Lifeson sharing the guitar, and it was an unbelievable concert, absolutely unbelievable. But when we got there, the reason why we got these tickets is my dad worked with somebody who knew one of Rush's managers. So they got us the tickets. They got us incredible seats, incredible tickets. Right up there near the front row. And I even brought a copy of Rush 2112, with me because we were supposed to meet him backstage. Now, unfortunately, the manager couldn't make it. He had like a family commitment, so he ended up not coming. So then we couldn't get backstage. But interesting story. What happened is my dad and I got there really early, and they're waving people in. And as they waved us in, we realized that we were getting waved into the employee parking lot because we were there so early. Benefit was we got free parking, which was cool. But so we got waved into the employee parking lot, and we're like, should we just go in? Yeah, let's see what happens. So we start walking in, and we just walked in like we belonged. We walked into the gate, and there was a person there, making sure everybody had their IDs and everything. But we just we got to get to work. So we walked right in. And we watched Rush do their sound check, which was awesome. Really, really cool. But, my dad and I, we're such big Rush fans. We did some stupid stuff. We actually went through the stage. We made our way back to the backstage. And, this is a gigantic outdoor venue. You have the bowl with all the seats, but then you also have like a field for standing room. But anyways, we're going through the backstage, and it's giant. It's a maze of hallways and doors, and we end up in the kitchen area for basically the band and crew. And on the other side of this door plain as day, we can hear it, is the stage. And, we don't have backstage passes. We don't work there, so we don't actually have the badge you need as an employee, but we just kind of, confidently walked through enough things that people assumed we belonged there. So, we panic a little bit. We just dive into a bathroom in this kitchen area. And so we're just standing there, me and my dad, in the bathroom, like, what should we do? Should we just go for it and try to go backstage? And he had seen Rush a million times. And if I was in his position and had seen Rush lots of times, I would have opened that door. We would have walked backstage, and, if we got kicked out, we'd get kicked out, but at least we went backstage for a little bit. I had never seen Rush before, ever. And, this is basically my only shot to see Rush. And Rush is my favorite band, and if we got kicked out after actually having tickets, if it'd be one thing if we just snuck into the concert, we didn't have tickets, but we had tickets, and I didn't want to get kicked out and lose my chance to see Rush when we had tickets to see him. So we didn't do it. Looking back, should we have opened that door and tried to go backstage? Maybe. I don't know. But we also could have gotten kicked out, and I may have never seen Rush live, which would have sucked if I never got to see him. But hindsight, is free parking, and we got to sit there and watch Rush do sound check before the concert. And, the other guys got there who had the tickets. We're like, hey, we're outside. We have your tickets. We're putting up will call or whatever. And we're like, hey, we're already inside. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're already here. So, this kind of interesting story, and, I love Rush so much, and I would have been really bummed if I never got to see him. So, it was probably a good decision not to go backstage, but who knows? We could have went backstage, and Rush could have loved us and be like, hey, let's go on tour. You guys are coming with us. But, I don't know. But, thanks for listening to some cool stories. And, my next vinyl deep dive is going to be later this week. And a little preview, it's going to be the Beatles' White Album. There's a lot of interesting things about that pressing, about the original presses, that I like to cover. And so if you're interested in the Beatles, tune in for that vinyl deep dive. And, I'll probably do another regular video later this week as well. So please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and let your friends know about the channel. And appreciate it, and see you later.